Hey everybody, mel0n here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing that I've wanted to do for a very long time actually. Today we're going to be taking a look at InfinityMice's brand new Control V2 and SHOGUN mouse pads. I was actually supposed to review the original V1 version of all of InfinityMice's pads, but unfortunately they got lost in shipping and no one knows where the hell they went. So I don't know what happened, but at least these ones got here. So I'm very happy to finally get to experience InfinityMice's mouse pads. I've heard a lot of really good things about them and I'm really excited to unbox them and do some first impressions today and see how they actually feel. Big thank you to InfinityMice for sending these over for me to take a look at. I greatly appreciate it, and let's go ahead and get right into it. So the Control V2 is available in two sizes. There is an extra large, which is 490 millimeters by 420 millimeters, and it is 4 millimeters thick. And then there is also an extra large square version, which is 490 by 490 millimeters and 4 millimeters thickness. It is available in a soft and medium hardness. Now I believe I have the soft one here because this is a very soft mouse pad. It is featuring a control focus design, obviously because it is a control pad. It also has a custom IPU base. The Control V2 is available in black, purple, and pink. I have the black version today. And in terms of pricing, the extra large version retails for $48 Canadian, whereas the extra large square, the 490 by 490 version, retails for 55 Canadian dollars. Now, when it comes to the SHOGUN mousepad is a limited edition collaboration with the real Kenzo. It has the exact same sizes and thickness as the Control V2. It has the same surfacing and the same IPU base. The only difference between the SHOGUN and the Control V2 is that the SHOGUN has a unique design, and the pricing for these sizes is actually a little different. Both sizes are available for 68 Canadian dollars. All right, let's talk about unboxing and shipping next. So the shipping process for these mousepads was quite solid actually. I'm actually very impressed with how InfinityMice has packaged these. So they came stacked on top of each other and there was tape holding them between them. Both pads had an external box and an internal box, and the external one did protect it from most of the damage during shipping. The internal boxes feel really good. They have great construction. They overall feel very solid, very premium. They're very easy to open. There's just a pull tab towards the top of the box. You just pull it open and the entire box opens up, so you can very easily take the pad out and put the pad back in for storage. Overall, unboxing experience for both pads was extremely solid. I'm very impressed with both of them. In terms of build quality and QC, both of the pads feel very premium, just like the unboxing experience and the packaging. Very solid overall. From a quick inspection of both the Control V2 and the SHOGUN, I don't see any defects on either of the pads. They are both very, very well QC'd. Now keep in mind, my pads were sent by InfinityMice, so your QC may be a little different. The only quote-unquote issue I had with the pads was that both the pads did have a fairly light chemical smell to them. Now I'm sure this is just from the inking or the base plastic. I'm sure this will go away over time, but it's not anything near as bad as how the Zowie GSR2 was. So glad to see that, and I'm sure it'll dissipate over time. If it doesn't, I'll be sure to let you guys know in the full review. But overall, I'm very impressed. Both the pads feel incredibly well QC. They feel very high quality. I'm very, very impressed. All right, now in terms of how the pads feel off of just base performance, off of my first impressions here, what I did to kind of get my baseline is I played a couple runs of Kovac's intro scenario with both of these pads with two different mice using two different skates each time. I used my Death Adder V3 with the Obsidian Donut skates, and I used my Rapu VT9 Pro with the Jade Donut skates. Now I will do testing with more skate types and different designs for my full review, but just to get my first impressions, I wanted to do some quick little testing here. Now overall, both of the performance of these pads are very impressive. I'm actually quite surprised how these feel. There is a very, very, very small difference between the control on the SHOGUN as opposed to the Control V2. There is a slight difference there. I'm not sure why, because the site says that both of them are using the exact same surfacing. So I'll have to do some digging onto why that's happening in the full review. But for generally speaking, for both the pads, they are very, very, very soft pads. They make the GSR2 feel like a brick, which I was not expecting, because the GSR2 is the softest pad I've ever used, and both of these pads are extremely soft as well. So that means that with these being soft pads, the control factor of these pads is going to be determined by how hard you are pushing your mouse into the pad and how much surface area your skates have and that kind of stuff. So very similar to the GSR2, just a lot softer. Now I did note that there is no kind of middle pad that's forcing back up against the surface. The one thing I did notice is that very small skates like the regular Obsidian dots can't account for the depth of the softness of the pad. So the base of your mouse just rubs right against the bottom of the pad with pretty much no pressure. So you're going to have to use bigger surface area dot skates like the Obsidian Donut skates or Jade Donut skates, or larger surface area skates on these pads, just because they are so soft. But aside from that, the pads actually felt very consistent. The glide was very smooth, really good stopping power from them overall. I really don't have any complaints about them aside from just the depth of the pads being so low. You can use some skates on them, but that is to be expected for such a soft control mouse pad like the Control V2 and the Shogun, since they're using the same surface. Now, all of InfinityMice's V2 pads, the Control V2 and the Shogun included, are using their new custom IPU base. Now, this base is actually quite sticky to the hand. It does feel like a kind of rubber stickiness, but it actually performs very similar to a traditional rubber base that we'd see on a VAX CPA or a Zowie GSR2. Actually, ironically enough, they're almost identical to the Zowie GSR2 in terms of performance. Now, keep in mind, I don't know if this is pour-on or not. I don't think it is, so I'm going to treat this as not pour-on, but I will do some more testing for the full review. But just going off of a non-moisture environment, how the base adhesion works, the pad bases are pretty much entirely reliant on surface friction, meaning that there is nothing on the top of the mouse pad holding the mouse pad down against your desk surface. It's going to slip around like no tomorrow, exactly what we found on the GSR2. I will say though, the base is stickier naturally, and when you are using it during game when your arm is on the pad, this pad does not move at all. It is anchored very well, where the GSR2 did tend to slip around a little bit. I'll have to see how it fares with arm sleeves if that changes anything, but so far the bases I'm actually quite impressed with. And again, I've said this a bunch of times, I'd rather see a rubber base work with some iffiness rather than a pour-on base that has no adhesion. So I'm happy to see this on this pad. Again, I'll figure out what exactly this IPU base is for the full review, but based off of just early first impressions, it feels like a very sticky rubber base that has pretty good adhesion with force applied on top of it, like an arm or something like that. So far, so good, no complaints. All right, well, that is pretty much all of my initial thoughts on the Control V2 and the Shogun. These are some very interesting pads. Again, I will have to see how these pads hold up over testing, and I'll have to try and figure out why the Shogun felt a little different than the Control V2, even though they're using the same surfacing, and figuring out what these custom IPU bases are was also going to be kind of a fun little mystery. But overall, I will say I am quite impressed with these pads. They do feel very unique, and they're different from a lot of the other things I've used. Again, the GSR2 was the softest pad I've ever used, and these pads are both significantly softer, so it'll be interesting to see how they actually fared during testing. Speaking of, be sure to get subscribed to the channel so you don't miss the full review of both of these mouse pads coming out in a couple weeks once I've had some time to do some full testing on this one. And if you're not following me on X, Instagram, and Twitter, be sure to go drop me a follow over there. I'll be making little short update videos of my testing processes, and anything notable I noticed during my testing, I'll be making little update videos there. So if you want to stay in the loop of how my testing process goes, be sure to go drop a follow over on there. But that is all for now. Big thank you again to InfinityMice for sending out the Shogun and the Control V2 for me to look at. I greatly appreciate it, and I will catch you all in the full review in a little bit. Peace.